Welcome to another Howls and Growls breakdown. Today we're talking about Luka Doncic and how he picked apart Minnesota's defense. This is nothing new for Doncic, obviously. He's been picking apart everybody's defense for years now, but it is worth examining how he did so in this game and how the number one rated defense was really in shambles trying to stop him, and of course Kyrie Irving as well, who had 35 points of his own. And I don't think the Timberwolves defense defended poorly in this game. I just think when Luka and Kyrie both have it going, there's no room for error, and the Timberwolves still almost completed that smash and grab finish, but some late game execution really let them down, and Luka and the Mavs were able to get what they deserved in the end. I think what Doncic does best is force defensive coverages to change and then punish them for changing, which kind of makes defense just feel impossible at times. So when Dallas run this double drag ball screen action, his first goal is going to be to make them respect him as a scorer. So here's the two screens up top. The Wolves are starting the night in drop coverage here, while the other big is dropping in here to provide middle help. But when Luka comes off, the two bigs are too deep in coverage, and that's a very dangerous place to be because Doncic now has this runway to the rim and the obvious ability to make tough shots with bodies around him. So he makes Minnesota change their coverage, and now they're coming up to hard hedge or trap him at the point of attack. So now when he comes around the two screens, Reed is jumping out at him here, but as soon as McDaniels gets hung up on this screen, Luka has this gap to worm into between Reed and the screener. So even when Kyle Anderson makes this smart low man help rotation, it's Doncic downhill, one-on-one. Towns can't help off this shooter too much because Luka will find him, and it's another easy bucket to set the tone. So when Doncic starts games like this, he's immediately going to put the defense in a bind. Now they're starting to overhelp to try and prevent him from just getting those easy buckets all night long. He drives in isolation on this one, Edwards makes the low man read here, and Gobert overhelps here as the rim protector. So now Conley has to drop into here and play both of these shooters. Doncic whips this sick pass around the corner to Gobert's man instead. That forces Anderson to spread back out and commit to Irving as a shooting threat, and he goes past him really easily, and then you know what Kyrie can do when he starts slithering his way downhill. It's a lovely finish at the rim as we see it in full speed, but the whole defense is compromised by Doncic's ability to collapse the defense and then make the right decisions. And the real problem with Luka is that he can do things like this. When he catches off the screen, you see Anderson is pointing at Naz Reid to stay on the strong side so that Slow-Mo can stay here and push him into the Reid double team. Now that's good defensive principle, but Doncic just jab steps into a three, and that's the kind of stuff that feels backbreaking for a defense. Again, I don't think the Wolves are doing a bad job here. Luka is just eviscerating the defense regardless. So he's off the ball now, it swings to him, and it's the right idea to run Reed at him here, but he's just going to skip through that rush double team easily. That means Gobert has to come up here, and Doncic is going to find Gobert's man with relative ease just standing under the basket. I feel like that kind of looks easy, but the defense doesn't really have a choice but to make those rotations. And now you see him breaking those coverages again with these sideline handoff actions. So when he comes around it, Gobert needs to step up here, but he doesn't want to linger too long because Powell is rim running and a lob threat again behind him. But with McDaniels stuck on Luka's hip, he's toast, and he again punishes that defense with his scoring. Gobert especially is in hell in these situations because he can't commit to helping his perimeter defenders because his man will get easy buckets all night long if he does. So they go back to it right away. This time Gobert is pushing all the way up here, and I think he gets worried about that lob. He gets too aggressive with his hands, and Doncic draws a foul pretty much out of nothing. And even in transition, he puts the defense between the hammer and the anvil. Anthony Edwards is the victim here. He's the first one back, and he's got to make a decision. Does he go with this lob threat behind him here, or follow Kyrie here out to the corner? He chooses the lob threat because Luka is obviously very capable of putting that on a postage stamp for the high-flying Jones, and then it goes to the corner instead, and that's too easy for Kyrie. And then he gets into the post. He sees Naz Reid coming on the backside double, so he spins out of it into the middle. Edwards has to cover down here for Reid, and that leaves the corner open. And it's good recovery from Edwards. Again, it's not bad defense here, but Dallas have those corner bombers, and that's what makes them such a tough offense to defend. Again, he just goes away from the double here. Anderson comes up for that double, so Luka just crosses away from it and starts to head downhill. Edwards can't come all the way off the corner here because it's Kyrie standing there, and that's instant death. It's a smart and potentially illegal screen here from Williams to block out the low man help, and it ends in a really easy layup to finish off this no-pass isolation possession. So you can see what I mean when I say that there isn't anything easy being given up by Minnesota, but great offense just beats great defense in this league. And now we get some of Luka's late game offense. He comes off this zoom action, and Gobert is now jumping out at him. That leaves Dwight Powell roaming into the middle here and forces the two low man defenders stuck defending the middle and their corners. All it takes is a little bit of hesitancy from Towns, who designates himself as the helper, and that leaves Powell to catch off the dive and finish at the rim with the foul. Now Towns probably could have committed a little earlier there, but then that corner shooter is open. And this is what that looks like. It's moves and counter moves. When the Wolves bring that same double up the top here and Powell drops into the middle again, McDaniels is in there early to stop that same score at the rim, and now the corner is open and Conley has to X out there to get there, but it's Kyrie and a late closeout isn't going to be enough to put him off a catch and shoot corner three. And on the final and most important possession of the game, they bring Jones Jr. up instead, so it's Towns up here trapping. So when Jones Jr. dives to the rim, Gobert seems to be stuck here in between Jones's rolling and Powell's lurking in the dunker's spot. He really needs to get around this low screen to get into the driving lane, but he's still stuck in between, and Derrick Jones Jr. caps off the game with the roll man hammer. And that's how this version of Luka Magic ends, after slicing apart whatever coverage Minnesota threw at him for the first 3 quarters. Luka destroys their pick and roll defense for the final 3 possessions of the game and helps Dallas grab a win that they deserved, but certainly one that wasn't guaranteed, especially when Minnesota found themselves 6 points ahead with just under 4 minutes to go. I'll stress again that I don't think this was a defensive failure by Minnesota, but simply that sometimes it's difficult to contend with offensive players who can cut you up on so many levels. Thanks again for watching Howls and Growls. Please subscribe for more.